Alright guys, I'm going to do something I don't usually do, which is a kind of a gear focused topic. I try to stay away from gear things because one, I think people just kind of obsess over gear a little too much, and two, it's kind of an oversaturated topic of conversation when it comes to social media. The reason why I'm going to go over this topic today is because I feel like it does not really get mentioned too much and is maybe even slightly understood and maybe not thought about enough. Now, that concept is the concept of rake in trucks. Now, you know, the most popular opinion is that a high rake or just raked trucks, positive rake trucks in general, are going to be the best. What is rake exactly? Well, rake is hard to explain, but the best way that I can think about it is a truck that has zero rake whatsoever. So when a truck has zero rake, the amount at which that you lean on the board, if you lean it to the right or to the left, the truck will turn at the same rate. The ratio of turn to lean is 1:1. So you lean to an equivalent of 1, then the board turns an equivalent of 1. Lean equivalent 2, turn 2. Lean 3, turn 3. Pretty straightforward. When you get into positive rake, how that works is that you are going to have lean 1, probably turn 1, but then lean 2, you might get 2.5. Lean 3, you might be looking at turn 4 or 4.5. And when you have a high rake truck, that difference between lean to turn is very, very much increased. To the point where when you're cornering with a high raked truck like a Rogue or a Bear or a lot of different like slalom geometry trucks, what's going to happen is you go into a turn and you just kind of lean back or lean forward on the trucks and they just whip around to the corner, making a huge difference in how fast you can rip around, making it really nice for just cornering in general or racing specifically. The thing that people don't discuss when it comes to high rake trucks is that when you are trying to hold out specifically a stand-up slide, a slide where you have to find the medium lean between leaning too far forward, high siding, leaning too far back, icing out, you have to find that middle ground. The problem is that as you are shifting your balance back and forth, trying to stay within that little zone of lean, every time you adjust yourself a slight amount, the amount of turn that's going into the truck is massive. And when you are trying to hold out a long stand-up slide, what you want is predictability, stability, and ease of control. And when you have a high rake truck, it's making all these rapid changes underneath you, making it very hard to control. So when it comes to holding out long stand-up slides, people oftentimes don't really think about if a truck is going to be good mid-slide. They think about how does it turn, but not as much about how does it hold out a stand-up specific slide. This doesn't matter as much for hands-down slides because you can continue to lean back as far as possible, and you're not going to ice out per se. You'll lose grip, but you're not going to ice out. So what are the other options outside of a high rake truck? Well, you can do a low positive rake truck, which is probably, when you think about like the K3, that is probably like one of the more popular low raked trucks. I don't know exactly the rake of it, but I believe it's somewhere around 2 or 3 millimeters of rake, which is definitely on the small side considering Paris, and a lot of casts are about 5 millimeters of positive rake. Now the other option is a rakeless truck, which a lot of people feel like the turn feels not so good on those because it's not very lively because the turn to lean ratio is the same. But again, if you were trying to just hold out big slides, it might be the best option. The other option is negative rake. The ratios are slightly reversed, which translates to a kind of unique feel. The one thing that people forget about negative rake is that if you flip your hanger, that is usually a positive rake, to a negative rake, that is going to overall lower the ride height. And as long as your board can handle the wheel clearance of a lower ride height, then you're going to feel a huge difference in the ease of initiation into a slide and overall stability as well. So don't sleep on negative rake and don't sleep on rakeless as well. Positive rake is not the only option, especially if your goal is to do stand-up slides.